My beloved child, pause for a moment, for what I am about to speak will overturn the way you have understood your own life. Right now, in this seemingly ordinary instant, an unseen movement is pressing against your soul, one that, if you fail to recognize in time, will alter the direction of all the years ahead of you. I am calling you not to soothe you, but to awaken you, not to comfort, but to pull you out of a current that is swirling beneath the surface beyond the reach of your natural sight. Therefore, gather every ounce of your attention this very moment. For the words that follow are not merely meant to be heard, they are meant to save. Do you know that just a few breaths away from you, two beings are moving toward you, carrying a measure of power that the ordinary mind cannot easily comprehend? They do not arrive with noise, nor do they approach with visible steps. Yet their presence is sweeping through the atmosphere around you like a wind bearing the weight of judgment. My child, the most unusual thing occurring at this moment is the very thing people often dismiss as ordinary. But I do not want you to overlook what is unfolding. So I speak to you with a seriousness I have never used before. Stay alert. People will tell you that it is merely a feeling, nothing more than a vague impression. But I tell you that at the very edge of that vagueness, truth and deception are clashing in the unseen realm to claim a place within your mind. These two are not coming merely to converse, to exchange words, or to inquire about anything. They are coming to plant something inside your soul. I know what they carry. I know the intent behind their appearance. And I need you to understand this before they even speak. Not every word that sounds wise carries light, and not every voice with apparent authority is sent to strengthen you. What makes this moment dangerous is the reality that the attack will not come from the place where you are most guarded. It will come from the place that appears the most reasonable, the most trustworthy, the most justified. And when you leave those places undefended, confusion can slide in as easily as a thin crack forming in solid stone, subtle at first, but capable of causing the entire structure inside you to tremble. My child, I tell you plainly, some things come to test you, but others come to mislead you. You must discern the difference. Right now, you may not see anything beyond your normal routine work, responsibilities, small decisions, conversations that seem harmless. Yet in the spirit, silence is growing thick, as though heaven and earth are holding their breath to see how you will respond. You think this is simply a minor intersection of life? No. My child, this is a turning point. What I want you to understand first is this: they are not coming to harm you immediately. But what they bring will test you in a way you have never encountered. This test is unlike any before. It does not strike your weaknesses, it strikes your strengths. It does not attack the places where you doubt, it attacks the places where you are most confident. It does not try to shake your heels, it seeks to reveal whether your feet are standing on rock or on sand. My child, let these words sink deeply. The most dangerous person is not the one who comes with obvious malice, but the one whose words appear insightful, yet originate from a source that is not pure. They themselves may not realize they are carrying a spiritual test. But I know, and I am pulling you away before you wander into a territory from which your soul will struggle to escape if you react from instinct instead of illumination. So, what must you do? You must flee. But flee from whom? Not from them. Flee from what they will try to deposit into your mind: doubt, self-questioning, the pressure to evaluate yourself through a lens that does not belong to you, the weight of interpretations shaped by human perception rather than by my definition. You are not running because you are weak, you are running because you are chosen, and those who are chosen do not allow any influence that is not born of truth to shape their destiny. My child, you do not yet see that this moment is opening a door that will not remain open long, a door of clarity that, if you step through, will deliver you from a subtle trap that is preparing to close. But if you hesitate, you will feel as though you are walking through fog, where everything becomes blurred, where you cannot distinguish my voice from the noise of the world. I do not desire this for you. I have already seen what is approaching, and I am giving you this warning before the battle begins. The arrival of these individuals will serve as a mirror reflecting your soul. When they speak, you will see how your heart responds. When they question you, you will recognize which pillars within you remain fragile. When they offer subtle praise, you will discern whether your heart is easily lifted by flattery. When they ask seemingly harmless questions, you will realize whether your sense of identity is seeking validation from people rather than from truth. This is not merely a meeting. It is a comprehensive test, one that only souls destined for maturity and greater strength must confront. My child, I know that hearing these things may cause your heart to waver, but do not let that wavering lead you. For I am with you. My presence is covering you in a way that human eyes cannot see, human ears cannot hear, and human minds cannot interpret. I am not standing at a distance watching, I am walking right beside you. I am not sending you into this challenge alone. I would never allow you to face an attack unless that attack served a greater purpose to refine you, fortify you, and lift you beyond your previous limitations. See their arrival as a bell ringing, signaling that you are about to step into a new level. It is a level of illumination, a place where you see more clearly the motives hidden behind smiles, where you hear more distinctly even the faintest whispers of deceit, where you feel more deeply the invisible currents that people call intuition, but which are, in truth, my whispering. This is the moment when you must not only see with your eyes, but see with your spirit. Not only hear with your ears, but hear with a mind that has been guided. Not only perceive through emotion, but perceive through the discernment I have placed within you, like a compass designed to protect your soul from subtle misdirection. In the depths of the spiritual realm where human eyes cannot reach, a battle is silently unfolding around your life. And it is precisely this silence that makes it more dangerous than the loudest roar of the enemy. For when darkness does not come with terrifying shapes, it seeks instead to slip through layers of subtle intention, layers that, without a sharpened and discerning soul, you might easily confuse as harmless, layers that blur the line between what is true and what is merely a crafted imitation of light. The forces that test you rarely arrive with loud declarations. They almost never reveal their identities. They come through disguised phrases, seemingly innocent observations, small suggestions capable of unsettling your mind. A single sentence twisted just slightly by the width of a strand of hair can fracture the peace I planted in your heart. This is why you must go deeper rather than remain at the surface. The surface is where darkness prefers to build its stage, where illusions appear polished, logical, wise, yet hollow of true light. When these testing forces operate, they do not use brute strength, they employ distorted intellect. They attack your thinking through intellectual illusions, arguments that sound reasonable, yet function like webs of doubt. They will make you question the very voice you heard, the value I placed within you, the path I have been leading you along. They will artfully arrange thoughts in such a way that you begin to believe your own doubt is justified. They make what is false appear almost true, and what is true grow foggy like mist. This is not an attack of force, it is an attack of ambiguity. Darkness always targets the areas in your soul that are still unfortified. The corners you have not yet realized are vulnerable. It does not break down the large gates. It searches for the narrowest cracks. And when your reasoning begins to shake, your emotions become the next place drawn into the spiral. These stirred emotions are not always explosive anger or obvious fear. Sometimes they are only small tremors, subtle, delicate, but enough to make you feel unsettled. Emotions are fertile ground for darkness to sow seeds of instability. Because emotions are easily influenced when you are weary, wounded, or feeling misunderstood. The enemy does not need to make you rage. Sometimes it needs only to make you slightly uncertain, slightly anxious, slightly discouraged. And from these small fragments of feeling, it constructs a distance large enough for you to begin questioning the very truths I planted in your life. It knows that if it can sway your heart, it can sway your faith. And once faith wavers, everything else begins to tremble. One of the most subtle forms of testing is the kind of persuasion that appears righteous, yet does not come from truth. It does not present itself as something evil. More often, it carries the tone of wisdom, of counsel, of personal experience, of familiar patterns justified by the reasoning that everyone does it. Darkness is remarkably skilled at speaking the language of logic. It prefers to cloak itself in the voice of understanding, maturity, and even so-called goodness. Yet it is precisely this counterfeit goodness that becomes the trap. For anything that does not spring from truth will never lead to peace. And whatever causes your soul to lose its peace even slightly does not come from me. Truth always brings clarity. Imitation, even when utterly convincing, always leaves a faint disturbance within. That is why discernment becomes a weapon you cannot live without. Discernment is not merely the ability to distinguish right from wrong. It is the ability to distinguish between what is right and what is more right, between what is good and what is truly life-giving, between the surface and the depth, between what looks like light and what is light. To discern, you must descend into the deeper places, for only in the depths can you hear the true voice. Depth is where your soul becomes alert, where you pause long enough to examine what is influencing you, where you ask yourself, where did this feeling come from? What will this thought produce? Does this word lead me toward truth, or draw me away from it? Those who never learn to live from the depths will always be governed by the surface, and the surface is where trials hold the greatest advantage. One of the heaviest tests is the trial of faith in the moment of being misunderstood, when you are misjudged, when your motives are distorted, when your good intentions are mistaken for something harmful. That is the moment when your faith is tested most deeply. For in that moment, the enemy whispers that no one understands you, that you are being opposed, that perhaps you should give up. But I tell you this, the moment you are misunderstood is the golden moment for you to learn how to stand not upon the voices of people, but upon my own word over your life. True faith is not proven when everything flows smoothly. True faith is revealed in the moments when your heart wants to surrender, but your soul still chooses to stand with me. And when these layers of testing stack upon one another, the disguised words, the intellectual illusions, the stirred emotions, the counterfeit enlightenment, the misunderstandings, the external voices, your mind will bear a pressure that few can perceive. These are invisible yet weighty pressures that make you feel as though you are wrestling with something shapeless, voiceless, without a defined origin. You only know that your mind feels strained, your heart feels heavy, and your soul feels pulled by an unseen force. Yet you are not fighting alone. Within these layers of pressure, heaven is working most powerfully. At the very moment you think you are about to fall, my strength rises stronger, and when you can no longer stand on your own, you will feel my hand lifting you. In the moment darkness believes it has overshadowed your mind, I, the one who shines beyond every clouded veil, call you into a new preparation, one that is not driven by fear or escape, but by awareness of what no longer aligns with your soul. The path I lead you into is not the path of a frightened runner, but the passage of a soul that has matured through testing, a soul that recognizes there are spiritual territories you can no longer stand upon. I am not telling you to flee in fear. I am calling you to leave the polluted spaces, those places where disguised words, twisted thoughts, misaligned emotions, and toxic influences continually try to drag your spirit downward. This is not a retreat. This is a transition. This is not weakness. This is the discernment of one who has been shaped by trial. You are not stepping away out of avoidance. You are stepping away because you finally recognize that you belong to the realm of light where the Spirit breathes, heals, and is re-established. And to lead you out of that polluted realm, I give you something darkness will never possess: illuminating light. This light is not merely the brightness visible to physical eyes, it is perception, profound understanding, the ability to see through layers of deception, a clarity that descends from heaven. Perception allows you to understand what is happening. Understanding allows you to discern what is operating behind the scenes, and insight allows you to see the true destination of every trial. When this illuminating light floods your soul, you will recognize that what you once dismissed as coincidence was in fact a strategic construction of darkness meant to exhaust you. You will see that thoughts you assumed originated from within, you were actually sugar-coated arrows aimed at your mind. You will see that certain people did not enter your life to uplift you, but to pull you away from the true voice. And above all, you will see that peace never comes from anything easy. It comes from my light of revelation, the light that makes everything clear. Even when the circumstances around you have yet to change, when that light shines forth, I begin unveiling the true nature of the trials you have faced. The first thing I expose is the voice of accusation. Darkness always delights in using accusation, for it is its way of making you question your own worth. It tells you that you are unworthy, that you lack something, that you are wrong, that you are not strong enough, that you are not holy enough. It whispers words that make you feel small, guilty, heavy, and useless words I have never spoken over you. You must remember this. I correct with gentleness. But darkness accuses with a sentence. I lead you into awareness. Darkness pushes you into shame. My correction leads to freedom. Its accusations lead to bondage. Once the light exposes the nature of these attacks, you will no longer be shaken by condemnations that do not come from heaven. The second thing I show you is the voice of blame. Blame is how darkness exploits your sensitivity, making you believe that you are disappointing everyone around you, that every mistake is your fault, that every instability begins with you. Such blame does not exist to help you grow. It exists only to exhaust you, to make you turn inward in self-condemnation, and to shape you into someone who lives constantly under the weight of guilt. But when the light arrives, you will understand that such blame has never come from me. I do not use guilt to propel you. I use love. I do not use harsh criticism to correct you. I use truth wrapped in grace. And then I unveil what is more dangerous still, the voice of false praise. Darkness sometimes does not attack with heaviness. It flatters. False praise does not make you grow. It quietly inflates you, leading you away from the humility I have cultivated within you. It introduces a subtle sense of self-satisfaction into your soul, causing you to lose vigilance, to relax your guard, to stop seeking my illumination. I give you light so you may discern between praise that nourishes and praise that misleads, so you will not be deceived by pleasant words that are hollow within. In the midst of all these things, I also place upon you a promise of protection, a promise not spoken merely for comfort, but engraved into the very core of my presence with you. I protect you not with a distant wall, but with nearness. I guard you not from afar, but in every breath you take. Wherever you go, my light covers that place. Wherever you stand, my keeping surrounds that ground. You do not walk alone on this journey out of spiritually polluted territories. You are enfolded by my hand, shielded from sugar-coated arrows, from deceptive whispers, from distorted emotions. I do not simply lead you forward, I walk with you, and so that your soul may be strengthened in this season of preparation, I send you a scripture that countless generations have leaned upon. As Psalm 4:6-1 declares, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. These words are not merely a verse, they are my nature toward you. I am the place where you run when your mind is pressured. I am your strength when your emotions are shaken. I am your present help, never delayed, never distant, never vague. I am always near. Therefore, my child, prepare yourself. Step out of the spaces that have dimmed your light. Allow illumination to guide your perception, your understanding, and your discernment. Allow me to unveil everything that does not belong to truth. Let my promise of protection become the breath of your soul. And remember, you do not walk alone. You are stepping into a path I myself have prepared, guided by a light that darkness will never extinguish. As you enter this new movement within the spiritual realm, where illumination begins to reveal what has long been hidden, you will recognize that spiritual chaos does not arise solely from the storms within your heart, but often begins with assaults from the outside, subtle yet sharp influences, voices that seem harmless but are powerful enough to unsettle the foundations of your mind if you are not standing in discernment. These assaults do not strike like violent storms, they appear quietly, delicately, almost identical to your own natural thoughts. Yet what makes them dangerous is that they are designed to penetrate directly into the deepest vulnerabilities of your soul. The enemy does not strike randomly, it strikes precisely at the places where you have been wounded, at the areas not yet strengthened, at the gaps you have not yet realized you carry. One of the most subtle forms of attack is the assault on identity. Darkness knows well that if it can make you lose sight of who you are in the eyes of the one who created you, then every step you take will become unstable. For that reason, it plants within you questions that seem simple on the surface, but reach all the way to your deepest core. Am I truly loved? Was I really chosen? Am I good enough to be led? Do I have any worth in the eyes of others? Am I deceiving myself? These questions do not come to help you reflect. They come to shake the foundation of your identity. A soul that does not know who it is will accept any label others place upon it. A person who does not keep the image God placed within them will be easily swept into any distorted image darkness constructs. Once identity is attacked, everything else becomes fragile dreams. Discipline, patience, love, worship, everything trembles when the root of identity is no longer secure. After striking identity, the next wave of attack often aims at confidence. This is not the kind of confidence built on personal ability. This is the confidence anchored in the voice of the one who guides you. But darkness despises that, because someone who is confident in truth cannot be manipulated. It uses words that sound reasonable to make you doubt your own steps. It recalls old failures to make you believe you cannot overcome. It magnifies small mistakes until you feel unworthy of any goodness. It makes you see yourself as small before challenges, instead of seeing the greatness of the one who walks with you. A person who loses confidence will step back on their own, shrink their own capacity, and destroy the doors heaven is opening. And darkness knows this well. So it plants heavy yet hollow statements. You're not good enough. You're not strong enough. You're not holy enough. You're not important enough to receive help. But you must remember that these voices never come from me. I build, darkness destroys. I uplift, darkness diminishes. I encourage, darkness criticizes. I strengthen, darkness exhausts. And then comes the third attack, the most dangerous of all, the attack of doubt. Doubt does not always enter violently. It often arrives as tiny fluctuations, just enough to open a door for chaos to pour in. Doubt in yourself, doubt in your purpose, doubt in your future, doubt in what I have spoken, doubt in my protection, doubt in the path you are walking. A little doubt, if left unattended, will expand into a storm that drains you, confuses you, and eventually stops you midway. Doubt always seeks to make you forget how many times I have held you, how many times I have made a way, how many times I have pulled your soul back from the edge. It wants you to look at what is wrong instead of what is right, to stare at fear instead of promise, to focus on circumstance instead of me. That is why I warn you about the danger of listening to voices that do not come from truth. Gentle words are not always good, and strong words are not always wrong. What matters is their source. The origin of a voice determines its power. You must ask yourself, where does this voice lead me? Toward peace or toward turmoil? Toward clarity or toward confusion? Toward freedom or toward bondage? Toward healing or toward harm? If a voice makes you afraid, heavy, doubtful, withdrawn, or pulls you back into old cycles, my child, it does not come from me. I do not speak in the language of disorder. I do not use fear to guide you. I do not sow confusion to teach you. My voice always brings clarity, always carries the breath of peace, always leads you to a place where your soul expands rather than contracts. When darkness attempts to cloud your mind, it uses many strategies to scatter your focus so that you no longer pay attention to what I am teaching you. One of its methods is to keep you occupied with trivial matters, small worries, repeated endlessly until they drain your inner strength. Another is to surround you with noise, unexpected events, or constant minor tensions that rob you of the inner space needed for discernment. Sometimes it uses people, sometimes it uses circumstances, sometimes it only needs a fleeting thought. But the goal is the same: to fragment your attention. A fragmented mind struggles to hear my voice. A fragmented mind becomes vulnerable to mental fatigue. A fragmented mind begins to believe something is wrong with itself, when in truth, there is only one thing wrong: you have allowed distraction to replace focus. Yet, my child, when you recognize the nature of these attacks, you have already taken a significant step toward overcoming mental chaos. Darkness holds power only when it goes unnoticed. Once the light of understanding and discernment shines upon it, what once seemed terrifying becomes an illusion that dissolves. I want you to learn to recognize an attack the moment it appears, so you are no longer swept away by invisible waves. You were not born to be a victim of outside voices. You were created to hear the voice of the one who leads you. In those seemingly quiet hours, when the noise outside has faded and no voices remain to accuse you, that is often the very moment another battle begins to rise from deep within the voice of your own mind, whispering like an unwearied intruder, using familiar phrases, yet carrying a weight strong enough to shake your soul. My child, I want you to understand this. The enemy is not always the one knocking at your door from the outside. Many times, it has found a way to borrow the inner voice within you to continue its assault. Those whispers do not roar. They do not threaten with force, but they slip into the silent corners of your thoughts, telling you that you are not enough, that every misfortune is your fault, that you are bothering others, that you are a burden, that you are insignificant. They speak in the first person, as though you yourself were the one pronouncing judgment. I am useless. I can never do anything right. I ruin everything. I don't deserve anything good. And because they use the voice of I, you struggle to recognize that these are arrows launched from the shadows. You think you are merely being honest with yourself, while in reality you are repeating words that never came from me. These whispers are not just thoughts, they are verdicts. Accusations buried deep into the soil of your inner world, so that every time you try to rise, an unseen force pulls you back down. This inner instability becomes a battlefield far more dangerous than any external attack. When others misunderstand you, you can walk away, close the door, or reduce your exposure. But when your own mind begins to rehearse phrases that drain your strength, you cannot run from yourself. The outside may be silent, yet within you echoes hundreds of conversations, thousands of imagined scenarios, an endless stream of what if only, and why. External chaos is usually visible. Internal chaos hides itself in plain sight. Wearing the mask of normalcy, you may still smile, still speak, still function. Yet deep inside, waves of unease keep crashing against your heart, leaving you exhausted without knowing why. This is why I tell you that the inner enemy is more dangerous than the enemy outside. It uses your thoughts, your memories, your experiences, your own voice to turn against the life of your soul. When the enemy is outside, you can identify it and confront it. But once it has been legitimized within, you easily confuse its voice with your conscience, your reasoning, and sometimes even mistake it for mine. And when that confusion lasts long enough, you begin to nod along to the very words that diminish you, believing them to be truth, when in reality they are an act of surrender to lies repeated too many times. Fear, shame, and insecurity do not enter your life randomly. They have a structure, a history, a traceable origin. Fear forms when you believe the future is nothing more than an enlarged replica of past failures. Your mind gathers painful memories, moments of rejection, past missteps, and projects them onto the screen of tomorrow, causing you to look ahead and see only extended reels of defeat. Fear whispers, "It will happen again. You will be abandoned again. You will lose everything again. You will disappoint everyone again." And when you believe it, fear begins to govern how you choose, how you withdraw, how you quietly shrink your dreams to avoid another encounter with failure. Shame works differently. It does not speak about what you have done, it speaks about who you are. It does not say, "You made a mistake," it says, "You are the mistake." It does not say, "You did wrong," it whispers, "You are what's wrong." Shame makes you hide, makes you want to disappear, makes you avoid the eyes of others, and sometimes even mine, because you assume I look at you with the same condemning gaze. Insecurity forms when you measure yourself against the world around you, when you look at others and begin to believe your worth is smaller, slower, lesser. It makes you constantly ask whether you are enough, whether you matter, whether you qualify. And when the mind keeps asking those questions without anchoring itself in truth, your soul becomes tired, disoriented, and easily swayed by any voice louder than your own. I am not telling you these things to frighten you, but to awaken you, because only when you understand how fear, shame, and insecurity are formed can you step out of their cycle. Every whisper that unsettles you has a root, either an unhealed wound, or a false word you once accepted without realizing it, or a distorted image of who I am that you carried along the way. I want you to begin questioning the thoughts that have operated in your mind for so long. Who first spoke this to me? Does this voice draw me closer to God or further away? Does it lead me toward freedom or imprison me in fear? Is this correction born out of love or condemnation that weighs me down? When you dare to converse with your own thoughts, you will discover that many things you once called truth are merely repeated phrases. When I speak of inner awakening, I do not refer to an optional virtue. I speak of something essential to your survival. Awakening does not mean you will never feel tired, never feel burdened, never feel shaken. Awakening means you recognize the very moment you are being pulled away by a current of thoughts that does not come from me. It is when, in the middle of a storm of confusion within your mind, you have the clarity to pause and ask, wait, why am I thinking this? Where did this thought come from? Does it carry the nature of the one who loves me? Awakening is the shift from accepting every thought as a legitimate guest to discerning who is allowed to stay and who must be dismissed. Awakening is the moment you stop living on automatic mode, being driven by old memories, old wounds, old criticisms, and begin instead to live with conscious awareness, understanding that every thought is a seed and that you cannot afford to water the seeds that lead you back into the night. I am calling you into a life in which you do not merely guard your outward actions but also tend the hidden garden of your inner world. For if your mind is a gate, then spiritual awakening is the watchman standing guard. A gate without a watchman opens itself to anything, even what destroys. But a mind awakened from within learns to open itself to truth and close itself against lies disguised as familiar whispers. My child, I do not abandon you in this battle with the inner enemy. I am right there, in every thought, every breath, every moment you choose to stand on the side of truth, every time you recognize and reject a whisper that seeks to shrink you. You and I break one more link of the invisible chain that has bound your soul for far too long. And as you walk this path of awakening, your mind will slowly become a place no longer defined as the battleground of darkness, but as a sanctuary of peace where thoughts are illuminated, healed, and restored to what I intended from the very beginning. When I call you chosen, it does not mean you will be spared from every battle. It means that through these very battles, I will reveal the strength I planted within you from the beginning. I do not choose you to remove you from every storm, but to teach you how to walk through storms with light still in your eyes, peace still in your chest, tenderness still in your heart. The way I desire you to overcome this trial is not by forcing yourself to resist blindly or pretending nothing is happening. It is by learning to stand firm in the truth amid countless voices, by clinging to my words in the midst of waves of doubt, by returning again and again to your source whenever your mind begins to drift. I do not demand perfection before you overcome. I simply invite you to take one step at a time, even trembling steps, but steps taken in reliance on me. The strength of the chosen does not lie in never falling. It lies in learning to return to me faster, deeper, more honestly after each stumble. I want you to see this trial not as a sentence, but as a classroom, a place where you are learning how to govern your mind, how to recognize my voice among the noise, how to distinguish true light from counterfeit brightness, how to reject the inner accusations you once assumed were obvious truths. I have placed within you an authority over your mind that you often do not realize you have. This authority does not come from your own willpower, but from the Spirit moving within you, the one who whispers when you are about to be swept back into old patterns, saying, "Stop. Don't believe that. Look back at me." Clarity does not mean never being attacked. It means knowing how to return to the source whenever darkness tries to cover you. I have given you the ability to choose which voice you trust, which thought you nourish, which lie you refuse to entertain. You are not a powerless victim of your own mind. You have been given the authority to steward your inner world by walking in step with me. Every time you refuse to repeat phrases like, "I'm not enough," "I'm useless," "I have no worth," you are exercising that authority. Every time you pause, take a deep breath, and recall a promise I made to you. You are returning your mind to clarity. Every time you name your fear, shame, or insecurity and bring it into the light, you weaken its power. Do not underestimate those small moments. They are where true resilience is forged. Spiritual resilience is not built in explosive moments of triumph. It is woven quietly through the repeated, daily choices of whose voice you heed, what truth you embrace, what thought you permit to remain, and where you allow me to enter the deepest rooms of your heart. Walking wisely through a storm does not mean proving yourself stronger than the storm. It means knowing where to anchor, when to stay silent, when to speak, when to retreat, and when to advance. There are moments when wisdom means not responding immediately to accusations, not rushing to explain yourself, not trying to prove anything to anyone, but withdrawing to me and letting me be your defender. There are moments when wisdom means pausing certain activities that are not inherently wrong but are crowding your mind, leaving no space for the rest your soul is crying out for. There are moments when wisdom means accepting that you cannot control everything, cannot please everyone, cannot meet every expectation, and that none of these limitations diminish your worth in my sight. Walking wisely in the storm also means choosing your circle carefully, recognizing whose voice is allowed into your inner space, and closing the door against voices that sow confusion. I am not asking you to isolate yourself. I am teaching you discernment. Just as a captain cannot allow anyone to give orders on the ship during a storm, so you cannot allow every voice to define you during a spiritual storm. Only my voice has the right to do that. And my child, everything you are walking through in this moment is the very first lesson in spiritual maturity. Maturity does not come from knowing more information. It comes from living out what you already know. Maturity is not the absence of emotion, but the willingness to bring your emotions before me instead of letting them wage their own battles in the dark. Maturity is not the disappearance of weakness, but the ability to return to me in the very hour of your weakness, instead of hiding, running, or condemning yourself. I am teaching you that spiritual maturity is not measured by the number of days you go without stumbling, but by how quickly you rise after each fall, and by the direction you turn toward when you rise. The more you mature, the less you rely on your own strength, the less you obsess over the idea of having to be perfect, and the more you learn to rejoice because my grace remains sufficient in every circumstance. Spiritual maturity is when you no longer allow external turbulence to dictate your internal worth, when you no longer let careless human words define the essence I have placed within you, when you recognize that even if the battles in your mind still exist, you are no longer fighting as someone abandoned. This is the courage of those who are chosen, not those who never tremble, but those who, even while trembling, still choose to hold my hand, not those who never feel confused, but those who, in the midst of confusion, still choose to believe that I am the one who keeps every promise, not those who have never cried, but those who bring their tears to me rather than letting them quietly erode the soul. My child, these days are not proof of your weakness, but a doorway into a deeper realm of maturity where your mind is realigned, where my voice rises above every noise, and where you begin to live as the one I have destined you to be chosen, instructed, protected, and sent into this world as a lamp no longer easily extinguished by the wind. My child, I want you to pause for a moment and look back at the faces that have crossed your life in recent times, those who suddenly came to confide in you, those who felt an unexplainable peace just by being near you, those who showed up repeatedly in seasons when you thought you only wanted to be alone. Have you ever wondered why? Even when you are not trying to impress anyone, not trying to draw attention, not attempting to place yourself at the center, people still find themselves drawn to you. They think it is coincidence, shared temperament, or accidental closeness. But in the spiritual realm, nothing is that simple. I tell you this, some people move toward you not because of what you do, but because of who you are. They are drawn not by your appearance, ability, or words, but by the light I have ignited within you, even during the seasons when you thought that light was dimming. Spiritual light does not need advertisement. It broadcasts its own signal. It is like a flame in the night. Those who are cold, lost, or trembling will instinctively move toward it. You do not need to beckon. You need only to exist as you were designed, and they will sense something within you they cannot name. Some feel lighter simply by speaking a few sentences with you. Some feel their despair lessen just from seeing your smile. Some choose to confide in you things they have never dared to say to anyone. On the surface, it looks like you are simply a good listener, gentle or thoughtful, but in the deeper realm, it is my light shining through the cracks, through the wounds, through the places where I lifted you up, so that now you have become a quiet refuge for souls searching for shelter. This spiritual magnetism is not random, it follows a pattern. In the spiritual world, whatever carries light becomes a point of gathering, and whatever has been wounded yet remains open to heaven releases a unique signal. Those walking through darkness, even if they do not know my name, carry within themselves a silent cry. Is there someone who understands? Is there someone who has survived what I am facing? Is there someone who can listen without judgment when that cry rises? I often lead them toward those I have trained through tears, guided through fire, preserved through long nights of loneliness without letting their faith die. Because you have passed through fire without being extinguished, the light that shines from you carries a different texture, not the light of theory, but the light of lived experience. Others sense this, even if they cannot articulate it. They see in you what they are longing for, a presence that is unhurried, a listening ear without calculation, a calmness that remains even though you are not flawless. And because the spiritual realm has its own gravity, those who walk in darkness will naturally gravitate toward the nearest source of light. You did not plan this. You did not build a stage. You did not hang a sign inviting them. Yet in my eyes, you stand like a lamp placed on a stand, and those who are weary will notice. This attraction sometimes confuses you. You do not understand why people trust you so quickly, open their hearts so deeply, or return to you for guidance even when you still feel unsteady yourself. But in this very place, I want you to understand this is not a performance of perfection. It is my movement through someone who knows their weakness, yet is willing to let my light flow through them. However, I also want you to recognize the connection between the spiritual potential within you and the attention of people around you, so that you will not be surprised when, alongside those who come seeking encouragement, there will also be those who approach with very different intentions. The spiritual potential in you is like a door opening into deeper realms of grace, wisdom, discernment, and the ability to touch the hearts of others. As you draw closer to me, as you learn to hear my voice more clearly, as you allow me to refine what is within you, you are being lifted to a higher place, one you never imagined yourself stepping into. The world often notices what is unusual, and anything bearing a heavenly mark easily becomes a point of attraction. Some are drawn to the peace within you because they are genuinely longing for healing, but others are drawn because they see in you a kind of energy they want to possess, exploit, or control. There are those who come to pull you down into the same chaos they live in, simply because they cannot tolerate seeing someone preserve peace while they themselves cannot. There are those who come to test whether the light in you is real or merely a polished facade. There are those who want to stand near anyone who seems different, yet have no desire whatsoever to change their own lives. I do not say these things so that you become suspicious, but so that you remain awake. For the more spiritual potential is revealed in you, the more light radiates from you, the more easily various eyes, hearts, and intentions will turn toward you. The spiritual potential within you is not a title for you to take pride in, but a responsibility for you to guard your heart. I chose you, not to make you the center of attention, but to make you a vessel. When people notice you, what they are truly reacting to without realizing it is what I am doing inside you. If you forget this, you will easily be pulled into one of two extremes, either pride, believing you are the source, or insecurity, believing you are unworthy and trying to hide from every gaze. I want you to walk a different path, to be grateful that I use your life to reach others. Yet always remember that strength, wisdom, peace, and sustenance do not originate from you. You are not the well, you are the vessel connected to the well. When you understand this, you will neither be intoxicated by praise nor shattered by pressure. You will learn how to receive those who come near, to love them, to listen to them, to pray for them, yet without giving them the right to define your value, and without allowing them to pull you away from walking in step with me. My child, the truth is this: because the spiritual potential within you is great, the attention surrounding you will also be significant. But this is not a threat, it is a reminder. Be careful with those who draw near. Ask me about the true purpose behind each relationship. Let me teach you to discern who is sent to walk with you, who you are meant to touch only for a brief season and then release, and who you must keep a healthy distance from. I do not let you drift among the crowd that seeks you. I want to teach you how to swim among them without being submerged. And it all begins with how you see yourself. You are the bearer of a light I placed in you. You are radiating a spiritual signal that draws people toward you. And you are called both to open your heart and to guard it, to welcome and to discern, to let love flow through you while planting your feet firmly in the truth. At that intersection, the nature of the chosen one within you will become increasingly evident. My child, as more and more people come toward you with their stories, their needs, and their expectations, I want you to see clearly something that very few can distinguish. Not every burden belongs to you to carry, and not every word spoken to you is given under the authority of heaven. Some people come not to be healed, but to unload, not to seek my guidance, but to place upon you demands they never had the right to place. You must recognize when human authority is misaligned, because whenever authority is distorted, every piece of counsel, every relationship, every closeness can become a weight that drains your spirit if you do not stand in discernment. That distortion begins when a person forgets their true position before me. Some believe that their experience is absolute truth. Some believe they understand you better than I understand you. Some believe that because they have gone ahead of you, they now have the authority to dictate how you should live. But just because someone walked before you does not mean they walked in the right direction. And just because their words sound reasonable does not mean they come from truth. You must be cautious with advice rooted in someone's fear, in their unhealed wounds, or in their personal experiences unilluminated by my guidance. When you allow someone to stand in a place that belongs only to me, you unconsciously grant them the power to steer the direction of your soul. This is the moment authority becomes misaligned. I am not telling you to shut your ears to every counsel. I simply want you to perceive the motives beneath them. There are words born from genuine love, humility, and reverence for me. Those words uplift, strengthen, and liberate. But there are also words that are not counsel at all. They are demands wrapped in the language of concern. Imposition happens when someone no longer respects the personal journey I am leading you on, but instead wants you to follow the path they consider right. Imposition does not need to shout. It can speak softly and still manipulate. It says, "If I were you, I would do this. You should listen to me. I know this better than you. If you don't follow this, you will fail." Such words often come from the posture of the one who knows better. But beneath that surface lies the desire to control, not the desire to guide. I want you to understand this with absolute clarity. Human advice only holds value when it does not exceed the authority I have assigned to them. No one has the right to judge your future. No one has the right to determine your worth. No one has the right to impose on you an identity that I did not write. No one has the right to make you feel guilty for the steps I have commanded you to take. Look closely whenever someone's words make you feel smaller, restricted, robbed of peace, or frightened to the point that you no longer dare to move forward. Then it is no longer counsel, it is imposition. And imposition, even when disguised as concern, is still a violation of the sacred ground that belongs to me and to you alone. My child, not everyone who comes near carries wisdom. Some come carrying burdens that do not belong to them. They approach with the posture of saving you, fixing you, directing you, helping you think right. But in truth, they are only looking for a place to unload their own fears. Those who carry burdens that are not theirs usually reveal 3 signs. The first sign is this: they overreact to your journey. If you share something small, they worry as though the whole world is about to collapse. If you slow down for a moment, they immediately treat it like a catastrophe. Their anxiety does not come from love, but from their own internal insecurity. And when you allow them to speak too much, you will be swept into a fear that does not belong to you. The second sign is that they often carry the tone of someone who bears things on your behalf, rather than someone who walks beside you. They say things like, "Let me take care of it. Let me decide for you. You must listen to me." Such people cannot distinguish what belongs to you, what belongs to them, and what belongs to me. They unknowingly place themselves in the position of the one who leads. And if you are not attentive, you will find yourself being pushed into the role of someone who must constantly depend on them, someone who must seek their permission for steps that are meant to follow my guidance alone. The third sign is that they make you feel guilty when you do not do what they want. They do not say it outright, but they leave a heaviness in your spirit. They make you believe that you are selfish, that you are disobedient, that you are disrespectful, even though what you are truly doing is protecting your spiritual journey. Those who use guilt to control others do not bring light, they bring chains. I teach you to recognize these things, not so you will avoid everyone, but so you will discern rightly. Every relationship has a purpose. Some I send to strengthen you, some I send for you to help, some I allow into your life only for a season, and some were never meant to be part of your journey at all. But their burdens, whether brought intentionally or unintentionally, must never be placed on your shoulders. You are called to love, but not to carry the burdens I did not assign to you. You are called to listen, but not to absorb fears that do not belong to you. You are called to walk alongside others, but not to lose yourself in their expectations. My child, you were not created to become a container for the fears and insecurities of others. You were created to be a lamp set upon a stand to shine, not to carry for them, and for that light to remain steady. You must continually return to me, learning how to keep your heart light and your soul free from the weight of others, even when they appear gentle, even when their words seem right. You can only recognize these things when you stand in my illumination. My child, I want you to picture this before you. A door made of light is opening, not with noise or chaos, but with a quiet clarity so unmistakable that your soul recognizes it the moment it appears. It is the doorway of illumination, the moment when your mind is lit from within, when everything that was vague becomes clear, when every mixed voice separates into its true form. And deep inside, you know this is the moment to decide. But that door does not stay open forever. It is opened only for a short time, a very specific season in your life, a moment when grace, revelation, and the prompting of the Spirit intersect like a sacred crossing point. That is why I call you to respond quickly and decisively, not because I enjoy placing pressure on you, but because I know this: when a special light is given and you hesitate, darkness will swiftly attempt to draw back the old mist around you. When you see clearly that a relationship is no longer healthy, when you realize that a place no longer belongs to you, when you are illuminated to understand that a long-held pattern of thought has only drained you, that is the moment I am opening a way out through clarity. If you do not step, no one can step in your place. If you are not decisive, the door will not remain there indefinitely, waiting for endless hesitation. I do not say this to frighten you. I say it so you may understand the nature of sacred timing. It is an invitation, not a demand. Yet neither is it an offer that can be postponed without consequence. When you hesitate and refrain from responding to that light, consequences will unfold one after another, not loudly, but inevitably. The first is the loss of clarity. The very first time I illuminate something for you, your heart ignites with an unusual sense of certainty. You know you should walk away, release a burden, set boundaries in a relationship, stop a habit, or redirect a thought. Yet if you keep pushing that prompting aside, convincing yourself that you can deal with it tomorrow, that you're probably just being too sensitive, or that you should wait and see a little longer, then gradually, what once felt unmistakably clear will begin to fade. It is not because I withdraw my light, but because your mind grows accustomed to ignoring it. The clarity that once felt sharp becomes dull. You start reasoning more, excusing more, and deceiving yourself more. Then, from losing clarity, you slowly lose protection. For my protection often comes through subtle warnings, gentle nudges, urging you to pull your feet away from danger, to retreat from contamination, to distance yourself from voices that pull you downward. When you no longer heed these reminders, you place yourself in places I already warned would hold wounds, exhaustion, and even brokenness. I remain with you, and I still love you. But you step outside the shelter that obedience provides. And then, the most sorrowful loss of all is the loss of sensitivity. When you repeatedly ignore moments of illumination, your spiritual ears gradually lose their sharpness, your soul no longer trembling tenderly whenever I speak. You still believe in me, still love me, yet your sensitivity to divine movements grows dull. You hear me more slowly. You recognize signs later, and sometimes only after things fall apart do you sigh. If only I had listened sooner. I do not condemn you for your delays. I know your heart. But I want you to understand that every time you respond quickly to a moment of illumination, you are training your soul with a new reflex, the reflex of someone who values divine timing above temporary emotions, above discomfort, above the fear of displeasing others, above the deeply ingrained habit of procrastination. My child, discerning divine timing means learning to recognize when I am opening a window of heaven for you to step through. Divine timing is not measured merely by dates, hours, or days. It is measured by the alignment between my voice, the condition of your heart, and the circumstances around you. There are moments when you will hear the same prompting for many days in a row through my word, through the stirring within you, through conversations that seem random, through repeated signs that resurface again and again. This is not coincidence. It is my bell ringing softly yet firmly. Now is the time. Divine timing can also be recognized through the deep peace that settles in your heart when you contemplate a difficult decision. Everything around you may be noisy. Others may feel confused. You may feel a hint of trembling. Yet somewhere deep within, there remains a layer of peace that cannot be explained. That peace does not come because you are certain everything will go well, but because you know you are moving in step with me. That is the sign of divine timing. Additionally, this timing is often accompanied by a fatigue that has reached its limit when you can no longer continue living as you have. When your soul refuses to endure another cycle of the old. When you feel you've reached the ceiling of your capacity and must either change or slowly wither inside. I use that exhaustion as a loving alarm to show you that the time has come to cross into a new doorway. I am not teaching you to react quickly, so you will live in haste. I am teaching you to respond quickly, so you will not miss the moments appointed for transition. There are things that, if you act early, you will pass through with fewer wounds, fewer losses, fewer fractures. If you delay, You may still overcome them, but the cost will be greater. I can still heal, but the unnecessary cycles will stretch longer than needed. My child, learn to remain still in me long enough to recognize when the door of clarity is opening. And when it opens, trust that I will walk with you as you step through, even if what lies on the other side is something you have never experienced before. You are not someone who leaps blindly. You are someone who moves in rhythm with heaven. And divine timing is the heartbeat of my love for you, the moments when I say, now, today. This is the moment when you must no longer delay what I have spoken. If you respond, you will find yourself entering a new stage of depth, of freedom, of maturity you never imagined you could reach. Do not fear that the door of clarity opens only for a short time. Be grateful that it has opened at all. And step through while your heart can still clearly hear my call. My child, long before you even knew how to name your pain, I had already prepared for you an arsenal that does not belong to this world, weapons not forged from iron or steel, not carved from stone, not shaped by the fires of the earth, but molded in the furnace of heaven, reserved only for those who are called. For you do not fight with your hands, you fight with your soul. You do not contend with flesh, you contend with layers of thought, with realms of shadow, with arrows that are invisible. And because of this, you cannot rely on earthly weapons. They are neither strong enough, nor deep enough, nor enduring enough to withstand the assaults of the unseen realm. I have placed in your hands 3 weapons. The world cannot comprehend: the weapon of faith, the weapon of obedience, and the weapon of humility, strong as steel. These are the only spiritual instruments capable of piercing illusions, extinguishing deception, healing your mind, and leading you into depths you never imagined you could reach. The first weapon is faith, not emotional faith, not theoretical faith, but faith refined through tears, through darkness, through days when it felt as though everything was collapsing. Faith is not a loud declaration. Sometimes it is nothing more than a faint breath whispering, I choose to believe. Faith does not always feel powerful. Sometimes it is trembling, feet still moving forward, even when nothing can be seen. I want you to understand that faith is not tested on calm days. It is tested when darkness believes it has fully covered you. Faith is not the stance of the proud. It is the posture of one who knows they are weak but trusts that I am strong. Faith is the only shield that can extinguish arrows of doubt, accusations, and voices that leave you confused and shaken. When faith rises, your mind is set back into its rightful place, not beneath circumstances, not distorted by fleeting emotions, but grounded in truth. Faith allows you to see what the natural eye cannot to see: my hand working even when the outside remains silent. To see that you are protected even before you can feel it. To see a door opening even while you are still standing in a dark room. Faith is the one weapon that hell fears, because darkness cannot defeat a soul that still chooses to trust me in its most broken moment. The second weapon I give you is obedience, something the world regards as weakness. Yet in the spiritual realm, it is stronger than any sword. Obedience is not passive surrender. It is the recognition that my will is always better than any plan you could design on your own. To obey is to align your steps with mine, even when they do not match the rhythm of the world around you. When you obey a prompting, you open a path darkness cannot follow. When you obey a divine whisper, you place your feet upon ground I have already prepared. When you obey in small things, you train your soul to be sensitive to greater things. Obedience does not create noise, it creates movement. It shifts doors, shifts circumstances, shifts the spiritual atmosphere in ways unseen yet undeniably felt. A soul that obeys is not one that is controlled. It is a soul that walks in the highest freedom, freedom from the fear of making mistakes, freedom from the judgment of others, freedom from pride that brings downfall. And for this reason, obedience is the weapon that confuses darkness most, for it cannot fathom how a person continues to move forward without certainty, continues to let go without seeing results, continues to stand firm without external affirmation. Obedience is a battlefield where hell cannot predict your next move. The third weapon, the strongest yet most misunderstood, is humility. Not the timid kind that shrinks back or hides, but humility strong as steel, a silent strength that cannot be shaken. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is knowing exactly who you are, where you come from, and whom you belong to, without needing to prove anything to anyone. Humility is not suffering quietly under every pressure. It is trusting that I, myself, will defend you at the appointed time. Humility is not letting others walk over you. It is choosing not to retaliate with force but standing firm with peace. Humility, strong as steel, is the ability to remain unshaken by praise and unbroken by criticism. It is the ability to refuse storms, the right to steal your peace, and to refuse noise, the right to mute your inner stillness. It is bowing before me without bowing before deception. Humility is the weapon that leaves darkness powerless, for it has nothing to grasp onto. You cannot be provoked by insults, manipulated by flattery, driven by ego, or pulled into battles I never called you to fight. Darkness wins only when it gets you to react out of the flesh, when you remain in strong, steady humility. It loses all control. My child, these three weapons, faith, obedience, and humility forged like steel, cannot be taken from you unless you are the one who lays them down. They do not reside in your hands but in your heart. They are not found in loud declarations but in quiet choices. They do not rest in outward behavior but in the unseen battles within you. When you learn to wield them, no arrow can pierce you, no voice can shake you, and no storm can swallow your soul. You are called to fight not as the world fights, but as heaven fights, quietly yet powerfully, gently yet sharply, appearing weak in the eyes of people, yet utterly undefeatable in my sight. My child, on the path of the chosen, I do more than train you to become strong in spiritual warfare. I teach you to guard a state far more precious than any weapon, a sharp mind, and a tender heart before me. This is the hardest part of spiritual maturity because the world constantly demands that you react quickly. Prove yourself right, defend yourself immediately, and shut down the quiet places within so no one will call you weak. But I invite you into a different way of living, one that opposes the human instinct to self-protect, one that contradicts the frantic pace of the world, yet aligns perfectly with the rhythm of heaven. It is the balance of sound wisdom, healthy emotion, and spiritual discernment in everything you do. These three cannot be separated. They form a three-stranded cord that nothing can break when it is held under my covering. Wisdom allows you to see the larger picture, to grasp the logic of a situation, to understand what is happening outside of you. Emotion allows you to recognize what is moving within you, helping you identify the joy, sorrow, worry, and fear you carry. Spiritual discernment allows you to distinguish what comes from me and what does not. When these three fall out of balance, you will feel yourself becoming confused when wisdom dominates. You grow rigid, overly rational, lacking compassion. When emotion dominates, you are easily swept away by unfiltered reactions. When spiritual discernment grows dim, you fall back on instinct and past experience instead of allowing me to lead you into deeper steps. I do not want you to lose any of these elements. I want you to develop them all, but with your tender heart before me at the center, so your wisdom does not turn into pride, your emotions do not become chains, and your spirituality is not diluted by the pressure of people. A sharp mind must be accompanied by a listening heart. A spiritually sensitive soul must walk with a humble spirit. A person strong in me must never lose the gentleness in their gaze. But you cannot maintain this balance unless you learn to recognize emotional reactions, those responses that rise as quickly as lightning but leave long-lasting wounds. Emotional reactions do not always erupt outwardly. Sometimes they happen silently inside you. Fierce and sudden, they show up when you hear a careless remark and instantly feel attacked, even though the other person never meant it that way. They show up when you feel abandoned simply because someone did not respond immediately. They show up when you feel disappointed in yourself because of one small mistake. They show up when an old memory pulls you into a whirlpool of self-criticism. Emotional reactions occur when the mind has no time to discern what is touching the heart. They cause you to act out of fear instead of truth, out of old wounds instead of the new work I am doing. And when you react this way, your soul enters a familiar cycle: worry, doubt, discouragement, self-blame, followed by an attempt to control everything, to protect yourself. But what I want to teach you is not control, it is recognition. My child, when you begin to recognize the reactions that rise from emotion, recognizing them the moment they surface, you take a tremendous step forward in your journey of maturity. Recognition means you pause and ask, why do I feel this way? Is this truth or just a reaction? Is this voice from you, Lord, or is this an old fear resurfacing? Recognition does not make you weaker. It makes you intentional. When you look directly at your emotions without instantly believing them, you begin to take back authority from past wounds. You do not reject your emotions, but you no longer hand them the power to decide the direction of your life. As you recognize what is happening, you learn to separate truth from the echoes of your unhealed days. And in that moment between recognition and choice, I can step in. I can whisper what you would not hear if you reacted from instinct. Do not rush. This is not what you think. Or this is your old wound speaking, not the truth. Or let me speak before you respond. When you give me that space, you begin to live as one who belongs to the light, and to recognize your emotions in this way, to keep a sharp mind while maintaining a soft heart before me. You must learn a very difficult yet deeply essential art, the art of slowing down under pressure. The world teaches you to react fast. Heaven teaches you to move slowly. The world says, if you don't speak immediately, you look weak. I say, if you speak before hearing me, you will enter battles that do not belong to you. The world says, answer quickly. I say, slow down so you can hear my voice. The world says, react now. I say, move slowly so you are not deceived by emotion. My child, slowing down is not delay. Slowing down is making space for my intervention. When you slow your words, you avoid causing harm. When you slow your decisions, you avoid choices driven by emotional pressure. When you slow your judgments, you begin to see things you never would have seen had you reacted quickly. Slowness is the act of the strong, not the weak. Only the weak are dragged around by emotion. Only the strong have the courage to pause and ask me before stepping forward. My child, I am teaching you to become someone who keeps a sharp mind so that you will not be deceived by falsehood, so that you can discern the true voice from the chaotic whispers, but also to keep a tender heart, so that you will not grow hardened, so that you will not close your doors to love, so that you will not lose your humanity, and so that you will never overlook my gentle voice. When you possess a sharp mind yet a soft heart, you will not be wounded by the words of others, but you will also not become numb. You will not be swept away by noise, but you will not withdraw into distance. You will not react too quickly, yet you will not delay what I speak. You will become a person whom darkness cannot manipulate and cannot make callous, a person strong yet loving, steady yet humble, perceptive yet without judgment, one who knows how to fight yet also knows how to rest, one who carries light yet preserves gentleness. My child, Everything I am teaching you, keeping a sharp mind, keeping your heart tender before me, learning to walk slowly, under pressure. Recognizing the whisperings of your emotions is not a collection of scattered lessons, nor a set of skills for you to display before anyone. All of these are aimed toward one single purpose, preparing your inner life to withstand the trials ahead, so that you may stand firm not by your own strength, but by the foundation I am building within you day by day, hour by hour. My preparation is not like the preparation of the world. The world prepares by action, by planning, by control, but I prepare you by constructing inner structures, those invisible parts no one sees, yet the very place where every future victory will be formed. A soul with no foundation can be swept away by the lightest breeze, but a soul grounded in me will stand firm even when storms strike from every side. To build an inner foundation means I am forming within you a spiritual shock-resistant framework, a structure that no external blow can break. That foundation begins with truth. You are not defined by fear, by wounds, by failure, by the silence of others, or by the way the world perceives you. You are defined by me, the one who chose you, called you, led you through each season, and placed within you a spiritual potential that darkness cannot touch if you continue to walk in the light. This foundation is also formed through sacred separation, when you know how to step away from influences that dim your clarity, when you know how to keep a holy distance from voices not rooted in truth, when you know how to guard your mind from expectations, burdens, and pressures that do not belong to you. I am building within you a territory the enemy cannot trespass, no matter how familiar the voice it uses to knock at your door. But the inner foundation cannot be formed without inward stillness, a kind of stillness that is not the silence of the environment but the stillness of a soul who knows I am present. This stillness is not avoidance of truth, it is the place where you face truth with me. It is not the shutting down of emotions, it is where you listen to them without letting them lead. It is not standing still out of fear, it is resting in the trust that I am working even when your eyes cannot yet see. Stillness is the lamp of the wise. In stillness, you hear my voice most clearly. In stillness, you discern which voice comes from the light and which is merely the echo of darkness. In stillness, you see what you could never perceive in the noise. This is why the enemy always attempts to keep your mind busy, to keep you from pausing, to make you react endlessly to countless stimuli, simply to steal this stillness. For it knows that when stillness is gone, your clarity of my voice fades. But, my child, stillness does not come from circumstances. It is something you practice. You practice it by pausing before you speak, breathing deeply before you react, listening before you choose, praying before you decide. Inner stillness is not slowness, it is wisdom in motion. And when this inner foundation is established, when this inner stillness is secured, you will step into something I desire for you, the power to walk in discernment. Discernment is not the absence of mistakes. It is the ability to correct your direction quickly when mistakes appear. Discernment is not seeing everything at once. It is recognizing what I am doing even when everything around you remains chaotic. Discernment is not becoming extraordinary. Discernment is when your mind is consistently illuminated by my light, and you respond according to that light rather than to the shadows. The discerning person does not walk faster than others. They walk more accurately. They do not speak more than others. They speak more precisely. They do not need to prove themselves knowledgeable. They simply follow what I speak in peace, knowing that my light never leads into a dead end. Discernment is the power of those who have spent enough time in stillness to hear me. When you walk in discernment, you will no longer be pulled back and forth by the voices of the world. Those voices may shake you momentarily, but they will not alter your direction. When you walk in discernment, you will clearly see which door I have opened and which door exists only to test your heart. You will recognize who I have sent to lift you, and who has come merely to take advantage of the light within you. Discernment prevents you from falling into old cycles, from repeating old mistakes, from believing old lies. It allows you to stand firm even when storms appear without warning, because within you is a calm that surpasses all understanding. My child, the purpose of preparation is not to make you hard as stone, but to give you a heart strong yet tender. It is not to make you untouchable, but to teach you how to protect the light within you from being extinguished. It is not to make you fear the future, but to empower you to enter it with peace, regardless of circumstances. My preparation cannot be seen with physical eyes, but it will be evident in the way you stand when the winds shift, in the way you speak when others tremble, in the way you choose when every voice tries to pull you toward itself. I am preparing you not merely to survive the coming trial, but to overcome it. Not merely to remain the same, but to rise stronger, deeper, and more discerning. Not merely to defend yourself, but to step into the calling of one who carries light, one who is chosen, one who wields heavenly armor. And, my child, when you understand the purpose of preparation, you will no longer fear trials. You will recognize that each trial is simply another doorway leading you to the place where I want you to stand. My child, as you step deeper into your spiritual journey, you will soon realize that not everyone who comes near you presents their true face. There are those who carry gentle eyes, soft words, and caring gestures. Yet behind them lie intentions that, if your soul does not discern, can pull you into the complex layers within them. A mask is not merely a metaphor, it is a reality in the realm of human interaction, a reality that those who carry light, as you do, will repeatedly encounter. I do not say this so you become suspicious of everyone, but so you understand that truth does not always rest on the surface, and you must have spiritual eyes sharp enough to see through the outer covering and into the true motives hidden in the heart. Many people hide not because they are malicious, but because they are afraid. Afraid of rejection, afraid of being hurt, afraid of being seen in their frailty, afraid of being judged, afraid that if they expose themselves, they will lose the acceptance they struggle to hold on to. For this reason, they construct masks as shields, as protective garments, as a way of surviving in a world where truth is sometimes treated as more dangerous than deceit. The reason people hide their true motives is far from simple. It springs from old wounds, accumulated disappointments, the lack of being genuinely loved, the hunger for validation, the fear of losing control. Some wear a mask to be loved, others wear it to cover envy, others wear it to manipulate, and some wear one simply because they no longer know how to live without it. Every mask has its reason for existing, and that is what you must understand, so you do not judge them when you realize they are not being entirely honest. The truth, my child, is this: very few have the courage to stand bare before the light. They do not hide to attack you. Many hide because it is the only way they know to survive without collapsing. And because you carry light, you will draw those with the thickest layers of masks. Your light awakens their longing to be truly known, even as it terrifies them, that you might see right through them. My child, as the light within you grows, I am not only teaching you to recognize the faces behind the masks, but also leading you into a deeper dimension, discerning the origin of whatever reaches your soul. For in the spiritual realm, nothing is just a harmless comment, just a passing feeling, or just a coincidence. Every word carries a current, every action springs from an intention, and behind every intention is a spirit at work, either aligned with truth or shadowed by darkness. I am not calling you to live in constant suspicion, but inviting you into the art of discerning three layers: discerning words, discerning motives, and discerning the spirit behind them. In the first layer, You learn to listen not only with your ears but with your soul. You do not stop at the phrasing. You pay attention to what it produces within you. Some words sound reasonable, structured, even proper. Yet once they settle inside, they bring no peace, only heaviness, confusion, or withdrawal. Some words sound blunt or sharp, yet they provoke insecurity, accusation, or self-condemnation. Some words sound sweet and gentle, but behind them is a subtle thread of obligation, leaving you feeling indebted, pressured, or bound. And then there are simple, unpolished words that open your soul, lift you, and let you breathe again. When you begin recognizing the impact words leave within you, whether they lift or tear down, free or entangle, cleanse or cloud, you have taken your first steps into the first layer of discernment. You must not only ask, "What did this person say?" but also, "What is this word doing to my heart?" A child of light does not merely listen to content, they perceive the spiritual atmosphere that accompanies the words. The second layer goes deeper, discerning motives. This is where many stumble, because motives are not easily visible at first glance. People may speak rightly, act kindly, and behave properly, yet the intention underneath may not come from love. I am not asking you to decipher every hidden corner of a person's heart. What I am teaching is this: learn to notice when there is a subtle discrepancy between what they present and what your soul perceives. Motives, wrapped in beautiful language, often reveal themselves through small details: the way they react when things don't go their way, the irritation that surfaces when they are no longer at the center, the disproportionate disappointment when they are not acknowledged, the wounded pride when you do not follow their suggestions. These signs are not given so you may condemn them, but so you understand that you cannot give them a place in your life that belongs only to me. Some approach you as teachers, yet seek a student to reinforce their ego. Some come as friends, yet look for a place to pour out bitterness without any desire to change. Some appear as spiritual mentors, yet hunger for influence more than transformation. In discerning motives, you do not invalidate the good they may be doing, but you also do not naively entrust your soul to purposes I have not endorsed. You may receive what is true in their words, but you do not hand over your heart to the wrong intention behind them. That is the wisdom I long to carve into you. The third realm is the deepest and most essential one, discerning the spirit behind a matter. This is the realm where intellect is insufficient and natural intuition is incomplete. Only the spiritual awareness that comes from me can guide you through without losing your way. Behind every word, every action, and every atmosphere, there is a spirit at work, a spirit of truth, of peace, of humility, of repentance, or a spirit of confusion, pride, control, jealousy, or accusation. At times, what appears on the surface looks deeply. Spiritual people pray, quote scripture, give counsel, or offer comfort, yet the spirit behind their words causes you to shrink instead of open, to fear me instead of draw near to me, to feel unclean instead of invited into repentance through love. That is the moment you must ask, what spirit is speaking to me through this? Is it drawing me closer to the Father, or pushing me away from Him? Is it making me love others more, or causing me to secretly despise them? Is it leading me toward humility, or feeding my self-importance? When you learn to recognize the spirit behind something, you will no longer be deceived by appearances. You may meet someone awkward, someone whose words are not perfectly polished or whose expressions are not spiritually correct, yet the spirit behind their speech is pure, longing, and sincere, and you will feel life flowing from them. Conversely, you may encounter someone who speaks fluently, elegantly, even spiritually, following every formula you know, Yet the spirit behind their words is dry, judgmental, and self-exalting, and your heart will sink. This subtle sensitivity is what I long to give you if you are willing to let me train you day by day. To enter these three realms of discernment, you need a deep kind of observation, one that does not stop at the surface. Surface-level observation notices gestures, tones, and vocabulary. Deep observation perceives the inner currents. The one who observes from the surface rushes to conclusions. The one who observes deeply knows how to wait. The one who observes superficially decides after a single glance. The one who practices deep observation allows time to reveal the true nature of a matter. Deep observation is not suspicion, nitpicking, or mistrust. It is the posture of a heart that loves yet remains alert. You love others, but you do not hand them the authority to touch the places I have not given them access to. You listen, but you do not absorb without discernment. You open your heart, but you do not tear down the boundaries I've established to guard your soul. Deep observation also begins with allowing me to observe you. I illuminate your words, your motives, the spirit operating within you. When you become accustomed to living under my gaze, loving but honest, you will no longer fear the truth, nor fear seeing the truth in others. My child, the accuracy of spiritual discernment does not come from your ability to guess correctly about people. It comes from anchoring yourself to the source of all truth. The closer you are to me, the less you will be swayed by misjudgment. The more you remain in my presence, the less you will be influenced by your wounds, biases, and fears. Spiritual discernment is not a special talent for you to boast about. It is the fruit of a life that listens, learns, and allows correction when I reveal that you have discerned wrongly. There will be times when you make mistakes. I do not condemn you for them, as long as you return to me for alignment. Every time you realize you have judged too quickly, misread someone's motives, or confused one spirit for another, you must allow me to reshape your mind. Accuracy in discernment is not formed overnight. It is built over hundreds of moments when you humbly reconsider, hundreds of moments when you choose my voice over the impulses of your own soul, hundreds of moments when you let me lead you one layer deeper. And there will come a time when, as you enter relationships, conversations, and unfamiliar environments, you will sense within your spirit a sharp kind of peace. You are no longer naive, yet not closed off, no longer deceived by masks, yet not bitter toward people, able to see through, yet still able to love, able to perceive clearly, yet still committed to prayer, able to discern without falling into judgment. This is the art of discernment I am training you in, not so you may withdraw from the world, but so you may walk among people carrying light without letting darkness disguised as light infiltrate your soul. My child, everything I teach you about discernment is not for you to know more, but to walk rightly in a world filled with crossroads, voices, and doors that appear good, yet lead to dead ends. Each time you discern correctly, you are not merely avoiding a trap, you are preserving the integrity, character, and future I have prepared for you. Reputation is not merely what others think of you, it is the spiritual imprint your life leaves after each season, the way you have chosen to love, to stand, to live. There are invitations, relationships, opportunities, and promises that sound enticing, yet behind them lie compromise, distortion, and the erosion of what I have planted in you. Without discernment, you might step into them out of fear of missing out, fear of disappointing someone, or desire to prove something to the world. But every such step becomes a scratch upon your spiritual reputation, making it harder for people to see me reflected clearly through your life. Discernment teaches you when to remain silent before accusations, when to clarify misunderstandings, when to withdraw from a conversation that has lost purity, and when to accept being misunderstood to protect something higher. It allows your reputation to rest in my hands rather than in public opinion, and I alone can restore that reputation if it has ever been stained. Your character, your inner nature, your integrity, your faithfulness, your honesty, and the way you treat others when no one is watching must be guarded all the more through discernment. There will be invitations urging you to take shortcuts, to rely on clever tactics, to use polished words to obtain what you desire. There will be moments when you feel pushed to respond as the world responds to retaliate, to strike back twice as hard, to shut your heart so you will not be hurt again. Without discernment, you may easily mistake these reactions for self-protection, not realizing that you are gradually abandoning the very essence I have been shaping within you. Discernment allows you to recognize the boundary between healthy self-guarding and hardness of heart, the distinction between wisdom and manipulation, between honesty and harshness. Every time you choose truth and gentleness, even at the cost of being slowed down, misunderstood, or disadvantaged, you are protecting your own character from being distorted under pressure. And, my child, a lasting future cannot be built upon a fractured character. This is why discernment is not merely a skill, it is an invisible hedge surrounding you, keeping you from trading the most precious part of who you are for things that glitter only for a moment. Your future, the seasons still ahead, the people you will meet, the assignments you will receive, the doors I will open will all be shaped by the quiet decisions you make today. Every step taken without discernment can nudge you off course, repeated over time. These small deviations can lead you far from the path I intended. I can draw you back, but unnecessary years may be lost. In contrast, every step laid down in discernment, no matter how small or unseen, becomes a stone, setting the path toward the place I have prepared for you. Discernment keeps you from saying yes to doors that are not yet in season, from clinging to unhealthy connections out of loneliness, from grasping at solutions born of fear instead of my leading. While the world insists, opportunities do not come twice. I tell you, I am the God of new opportunities. Yet I am also the one who teaches you to refuse what does not belong to you. Discernment brings you to a place where you no longer ask merely, "Can I do this?" but rather, "Is this meant for me in this season? Does it carry my spirit? Does it lead me closer to you?" When you begin to live this way, discernment becomes a guiding light rather than an alarm system. In the beginning, you may use discernment like a fence to avoid traps, to keep yourself from being swept into dangerous spaces. But over time, as you learn to walk with me, discernment becomes like a lamp set upon the path, illuminating every step, helping you see which direction to choose, where to pause, and when to move swiftly. I do not call you to live in perpetual defense. I call you to walk with intention, confidence, and clarity. The light of discernment shines not only upon what is wrong, it also reveals what is right, good, and aligned with what I am doing, things others may overlook. There will be moments when those around you see a door that looks dazzling and call it a golden opportunity. Yet, the light of discernment within you will show what they cannot see, the scent of compromise, the shadow of future exhaustion, or the slow erosion of your spirit should you enter through it. Conversely, there will be quiet paths, modest, unnoticed, even dismissed, that discernment reveals as the ones I have chosen. This is the way I delight in. This is where I dwell. This is the road that leads to peace. At that point, discernment ceases to feel like a burden of constant analysis. It becomes a comfort, because you know you are no longer walking in the dark without a source of light. And my child, I offer a promise to those who pursue discernment. I will not let them walk alone, and I will shield them from traps they themselves cannot fully perceive. The one who practices discernment is the one who acknowledges that they are not wise enough to understand everything, not clear-sighted enough to guide themselves, and therefore chooses to lean on me. I do not turn away a heart like that. I delight in adding to them greater sensitivity, deeper peace, and the ability to hear my whisper. I promise that anyone who seeks my guidance in humility, not to control others but to keep their own heart pure, will be led by me in a special way. I will use even their unintentional mistakes to teach them discernment, but I will not allow those mistakes to destroy their life. I will remind them at the right moment, intervene in due time, pull them out of distorted thinking, and rescue them from relationships slowly dimming their light. My promise is not that they will never be deceived, but this: when you call upon me, I will answer. When you ask me, I will show you the way you should go. When you are willing to surrender your own will, I will guide you into what is good, pleasing, and perfect in my sight. My beloved child, continue to allow me to train you in the art of discernment, for it is not merely a tool for survival, it is the compass that will lead you to the exact place where I inscribed your name from the beginning. Every time you choose to pause and listen, every time you take the effort to examine the spirit behind a matter, every time you ask me before you step forward, you are agreeing to let my light become the map for the rest of your journey. My child, there are seasons in the spiritual life when the word run is often misunderstood. People speak of running away, running from, running off, as though every movement is driven by fear or weakness. But I want you to understand that in me, there is a different kind of running, running without hiding. Running from what is harmful, if it comes only from fear, will keep your soul in a state of constant uneasiness, pushed back and forth by circumstances, by people, by memories, by invisible arrows. It places you in a posture of passive reaction, whatever hurts you. You avoid whatever unsettles you. You shrink from whatever wounds you. You shut out. But running into my protection is an entirely different kind of movement. It is no longer an escape from reality, but a turning toward the one who holds reality in his hands. Running from what is harmful without running into where I dwell only causes you to exchange one territory of fear for another. But when you run into my heart, when you choose to hide beneath my wings, you are no longer running without direction. You are being repositioned in the very center of my will. My child, I do not blame you for the moments when you wish to hide. I understand the wounds that have made you weary. But I am calling you to step into another dimension instead of merely running away. Run toward, instead of only leaving the darkness. Step into the refuge I have prepared for your soul. That is the essence of a holy shift, not merely changing places, changing environments, changing relationships, or changing jobs, but a movement along the spiritual axis, where your point of anchoring shifts from yourself to me. A holy shift happens when you no longer ask, "How do I hurt less?" but begin to ask, "Lord, where is the place I am meant to stand? Where is the ground where my spirit is protected? Where is the position you are calling me to in this moment?" A holy shift may manifest as a specific step in your daily life, stepping out of a toxic relationship, withdrawing your presence from spaces that muffle my voice, stopping a seemingly harmless habit that unsettles your mind, changing how you steward your time, or simply shifting the orientation within from trying to please everyone to placing your priority in pleasing me. You might remain in the same room, the same workplace, the same city, and yet a shift has already taken place within you. You are no longer standing on the ground where you must strain to control everything, but stepping back to place your hand in mine, There will also be times when I truly call you out of a particular environment because the spiritual atmosphere has become too turbulent and it is no longer a place where you can be nourished, only drained. In both cases, what makes the shift holy is not the geographic distance, but the intention of obedience. You are not moving according to your emotions, nor clinging to what has expired. You are choosing to move in rhythm with me. And my child, every time you obey in these shifts, the spiritual atmosphere around you changes in ways that you may only sense rather than articulate. When you remain in a place I have already told you to leave, your soul stays in a subtle tension, your peace flickers, your sleep grows heavy, your mind is easily pulled into old patterns of thought, and your emotions become quick to flare. Not because I have forsaken you, but because you are trying to remain in a territory that no longer belongs to you. But when you decide to follow my illumination, even if it is just an inward whisper that you will no longer let yourself be pulled into harmful conversations, no longer push yourself back into cycles of self-destruction, no longer try to maintain connections I have allowed to shrink, you will notice the atmosphere within beginning to shift. The place that once felt like a battlefield of accusations and doubts becomes a place of quietness. The space once filled with regret and self-blame becomes a space where hope begins to speak. The heaviness that once came from feeling indebted to others lifts as you realize your only responsibility is to obey me. This shift in the spiritual atmosphere does not occur only within you. It begins to ripple outward. When you reposition yourself toward my will, relationships that no longer align will naturally fade. Conversations that once drained you will diminish, and attacks that were once frequent will begin to weaken. Not because the enemy has stopped hating you, but because it loses access to the doors you have closed through obedience. In contrast, I will add relationships that nourish you. People with humility and sincerity will appear. Confirmations from me will come through channels you did not expect. The spiritual atmosphere around your life changes when you shift your axis from striving alone to depending wholly on my covering. You will see that certain battles no longer roar as loudly as before, not because the war has ended, but because you have stepped out of a front line where you are no longer assigned to stand, and into the position where I myself fight on your behalf. My child, running in the will of God does not mean becoming someone who is constantly rushing, constantly shifting, constantly chasing something new. It means becoming someone who listens and responds. When I say, come out, you do not delay indefinitely. When I say stay, you do not search for an escape simply because you are tired. When I say step back and let me act, you resist the urge to intervene to make things unfold your way. When I say it is time for a new season, you do not cling to the false safety of the old one. This is the rhythm of running in my will, not faster, not slower, not turning when I go straight, not stopping when I lead you forward. And each time you align your steps with mine, not only does your life change, but the spiritual atmosphere above you is renewed. You will no longer be someone who merely survives the storm, but someone who learns to run through the storm without losing direction, because you know exactly who runs beside you, and you trust that every holy shift in your life is held within my unchanging wisdom and my unfailing love. My child, I know there are moments when you look at the circumstances before you and everything seems to tremble, as though the ground beneath your feet is no longer firm, as though everything you once thought was certain suddenly becomes fragile. You see relationships shifting without warning, doors closing without explanation, plans dissolving even though you built them with great care, and emotions rising and falling like waves. You ask yourself, where did I go wrong? Am I being judged? Have I been abandoned? But, my beloved child, I want you to listen very closely, many times. The very shaking you fear is not a sign of chaos, but a sign of my orchestration. I do not create chaos. Yet I can use what looks like chaos to loosen what no longer aligns with your calling. What you think is loss is often necessary separation. What you think is random is a divine alignment, calibrated to the rhythm of my breath. You see the surface trembling, I see the structure being adjusted. You see disruption, I see arrangement. You see a closed door, I see a door that is no longer fit for you to enter. Some walls collapse not to crush you, but to clear a path. Some things leave your life, not because you are inadequate, but because they no longer carry life into the future I am building for you. In seasons like these, you will notice something strange. You are constantly moving, yet you are inexplicably safe, as if an invisible hand holds you in place. This is something only those who walk with me can truly perceive. Peace does not come from a quiet environment, but from knowing that I am present in the midst of the shaking. You may be changing jobs, changing environments, changing habits, changing patterns of thought, even changing relationships you once believed were permanent. Yet one thing does not change. My hand remains on your shoulder, guiding your steps, keeping you from falling even when you cannot see the road clearly. There will be moments when you think you might collapse under the pressure, yet you remain standing. This is the sign of supernatural preservation. There will be moments when your mind feels exhausted, yet a gentle clarity arrives just in time. This is the sign of divine care. There will be moments when you feel pulled in many directions, yet deep within you remains an axis of peace that cannot be shaken. That is me, holding the center of your soul. My child, the shaking will not break you when you are in my hands. It will only break what no longer belongs to you. And within this paradoxical movement, you enter an essential process: refinement while in motion. Refinement does not happen when everything is convenient, orderly, or clear. Refinement happens when your heart is tested, when your motives are illuminated, when the old parts of you are touched, when what is not yet pure is exposed. I do not refine you to punish you, but to raise you to a new level. No one is prepared for great things without inward refinement. Certain pains surface so you can see what is truly driving your emotions. Certain expectations collapse so you no longer rely on illusions. Certain paths feel like circles, yet I am redirecting you away from hidden misalignment. When you are in motion, everything unanchored will shake, revealing what still needs healing: old fears, unresolved wounds, fear of rejection, desire for affirmation, or dependence on people instead of me. In the shaking, these things rise not to shame you, but to help you see them clearly and surrender them to me. No refinement is gentle, yet every time you let me remove an invisible chain, you become lighter, deeper, stronger, and freer. And my child, I want you to understand something profoundly important. I use shaking to clear the way, not because I wish to make things difficult for you, but because some doors open only after the old has been removed. You may be asking me to open new doors, but if you are still clinging to things that weaken you, I cannot place in your hands what I intend to give. Shaking forces you to release what you think you need so you can receive what you truly need. It separates you from relationships that drain you, expectations that distort your identity, habits that dull my voice, and spiritual spaces where you are no longer called to stand. Without shaking, you would cling to expired things, and what is coming would have no room to enter. Shaking also repositions you from places where darkness easily reached you to places where it can no longer touch you as before. It shifts you from survival to readiness. It moves you from misalignment to perfect alignment with my steps. There are times you ask me for peace, yet true peace only comes after adjustment. This is why I must shake what is unstable, not because I desire your pain, but because I know the next season requires a stronger foundation. Some destiny-assigned doors only open once your heart has been refined, Once your inner world is no longer shaken by invisible threats, once your mind is no longer disturbed by old fears, shaking is preparation for spiritual elevation. It is like a drumbeat sounding to an army. Prepare yourself. My child, when you feel the ground trembling, do not think you are about to be buried. Understand that I am breaking the old layers to build a new foundation beneath your life. When you see chaos rising, do not assume it is a sign of defeat. See it as a sign of transition. When you feel yourself being pulled away from what was familiar, do not think you are losing everything. Remember that I never remove anything from your life without the intention of replacing it with something greater. And as you continue walking, even on trembling ground, you will discover this truth. There is always an invisible hand holding your soul. A hand that never missteps. A hand that knows precisely when to lift you, when to nudge you, when to hold you still, and when to open space for you to step into the new. You are not abandoned within the shaking. You are being guided through it. My child, in the seasons when you are running within my will, the seasons of sacred transitions, seasons of shaking, yet held firmly by my hand, there will be moments when you look around and feel as though you are moving forward alone. But I want you to understand a truth known only by those who walk deeply in the spiritual journey. I never allow you to run alone. Along every stretch of the path, at the moments you least expect, I will send unexpected allies into your life, people you did not search for, did not plan to meet, did not intentionally call forth, yet they will appear at the right moment, in the right way, and in the right position, like pieces I have prepared long before you realized you would need them. I do not send allies when you cling to what is old. I send them when you begin to shift your axis toward my will. When you step out of your spiritual comfort zone, when you walk away from contaminated spaces, when you stop depending on your own strength, allies appear only after obedience, never before it. And they do not come to do what you can already accomplish on your own. They come to support what belongs to the new season I am unfolding for you. The arrival of those I send often carries a very distinct rhythm, never rushed, never pressuring, never stirring anxiety. They come gently, like cool water in a barren desert, like a small ray of light breaking through the darkness. They do not appear to fill the void of your loneliness, but to confirm what I have spoken within you. They do not arrive to force you into their path, but to accompany you on the path I am leading you through. They do not come to control, but to release. They do not come to bind, but to untie. A true ally never demands a price that costs your freedom or your peace. They bring safety, clarity, and support that allows your soul to inhale deeply without bracing itself for harm. I send them not only to help you in the present, but to lay foundations for bigger steps ahead. So how do you recognize a true ally? First, you will notice that their presence carries peace, not merely emotional comfort, but a deep, steadying kind of peace that requires no pretending, no forcing yourself to appear strong, no hiding your exhaustion. There are people whose presence causes your soul to shrink back immediately. These are not allies. But there are others whose words alone open your mind, brighten your spiritual space, and bring sudden clarity to what I have already spoken to you. A true ally does not confuse you. They remind you who is leading you. A second sign is this: a true ally does not compete with the light within you. They are not intimidated by your strength. They rejoice when you grow. They do not seek to make you dependent on them. They desire for you to depend on me. They are not threatened by your new season. Instead, they encourage, pray, and protect your spiritual space through their words, their presence, and their genuine love. A third sign is this: a true ally helps you see yourself more clearly without harming you. They speak truth while guarding your heart. They correct you without humiliating you. They help you discern without taking away your ability to choose. They do not use knowledge to impose themselves. They use humility to walk with you. A fourth sign, their presence increases your light rather than drains it. When you leave a conversation with them, you do not feel depleted. You feel strengthened, illuminated, and reminded that I remain active in your life. But alongside divine help, you will also encounter another type of person, those who bring assistance that distracts. They come with the appearance of care, yet they pull you away from your purpose. They say things that sound reasonable, yet they leave your soul weary. They use understanding to make you dependent. They use advice to steer you away from the pace I am setting for you. And at times, they appear with excessive enthusiasm, leaving you confused between their voice and my gentle leading. So how do you distinguish? Divine help always draws you closer to me, while distracting help always leads you away from me, even by half a step. Divine help clarifies what I have spoken. Distracting help blurs what I have spoken. Divine help strengthens you. Distracting help makes you reliant on the person. Divine help emphasizes your walk with me. Distracting help emphasizes the helper themselves. One who comes from me will say, "Seek God with me." One who does not come from me will say, "Listen to me, because I know what is best for you." Those I send never take my place in your life. They do not attempt to fix everything within you. They point you back to the one who can. They do not circle around your wounds to foster dependence. They help you look toward the healing I am bringing. They do not offer quick solutions just to make you grateful to them. They help you patiently walk through my process. Another distinction is this: divine help always places you into freedom, while distracting help places you under burden. If someone's advice makes you feel obligated to act in order to keep them pleased, that is not help from me. If someone's support causes you to lose your spiritual clarity, lose your ability to hear my voice, lose your quiet moments, or lose healthy boundaries, this is not an ally, no matter how kind they appear. I do not send people who diminish the sound of my voice within you. My child, I teach you this not so that you will shut your heart against everyone who wishes to help you, but so that you may know how to open the door to the right ones. For in many seasons, I send allies as part of a heavenly strategy. They are the ones who lift you when you grow weary, who warn you when you begin to drift, who strengthen your trust when you doubt yourself, who confirm the direction I have spoken into your heart even before you tell them anything. True allies are those whom I place near you in the perfection of timing, never earlier, never later. They do not come because of their own needs. They come because of my arrangement. My child, when you run in my will, every assistance that comes from me arrives naturally, without force, without heaviness, without stirring confusion. And you will learn a crucial truth: you do not win battles by your own strength alone, but by being aligned with the ones I have sent. These allies are not your saviors. They are signs that I am walking with you and opening the way before you. My child, I want you to understand something profoundly. Among all the spiritual weapons I have placed in your hands, prayer is not merely a ritual, not just a few words uttered when you feel pressed, and certainly not a formality before meals or sleep. Prayer is a weapon, defensive and offensive at once, both shielding your soul from invisible arrows and breaking down the walls darkness has built around your life for a long time. When you learn to pray without interruption, not only with spoken words, but through the posture of a heart continually turned toward me, you begin to step into a deeper realm of spiritual weaponry. The power of continuous prayer does not lie in how much you say, but in the unbroken cord between you and me. Whether you are working, walking along the road, facing pressure, or moving through a moment that seems utterly ordinary, continuous prayer is when your mind instinctively returns to me whenever it is pulled toward worry. When your first question is no longer, "What should I do?" but, "Lord, what do you think about this?" When in the midst of a conversation with someone else, a quiet whisper rises from within you, "Guard my mouth, guard my heart, Let me respond the way you would. Such continual prayer turns your life into a protected stream like a city, constantly surrounded by an invisible wall of fire. The enemy may watch from afar, but he cannot breach as easily as before. When you keep your heart in a posture of prayer, you are less easily surprised, less easily swept away, and less easily pulled into battles that do not belong to you. Because everything that reaches you must first pass through the filter of me. But, my child, the strength of prayer does not come only from consistency. Great power also lies in the honesty of your cry. I am not moved by polished words, memorized phrases, or outwardly beautiful forms that carry no substance. I am moved by a heart that dares to speak the truth. When you pray, I do not require you to be strong before me. I invite you to come trembling, vulnerable, and willing to voice what you dare not tell anyone. A truthful cry is when you are willing to say, I'm tired. I'm afraid. I don't understand. I struggle to forgive. I want to give up. I am jealous. I can't trust myself anymore not to sink into these feelings, but to offer all of them to me. The most powerful prayers are not the loudest ones. They are the ones spoken from the deepest place of your soul, where you can no longer pretend. When you cry out honestly, you open the door for me to touch the exact place that needs healing. But when you present only edited words or beautiful phrases that never address the true condition of your heart, you build a thin wall between yourself and the healing I long to give. My child, I am never shocked by what you truly feel. I am only saddened when you choose to hide it. When you pray, deliver me from the thoughts pulling me downward. Uproot the fear gripping my heart. Free me from clinging to people more than to you. That is when your prayer begins to strike at the invisible strongholds the enemy has constructed for years within your mind. And, my child, the fortress of darkness is never strong enough to withstand a soul that cries out in truth, in constancy, and in humility. In that process, something miraculous begins to take place. Your mind is transformed in the very act of praying. Many times you come to me asking that I change your circumstances, change people, change your environment, change the doors before you. But when you step out of the place of prayer, the first thing that changes is you. I do not always shift what is around you immediately. I begin by shifting what is within you. Prayer is not merely a place where you unload your burdens. It is the place where I restructure the way you think. Each time you turn to me instead of turning to fear, you carve a new path in your mind. Each time you choose to say, I surrender this to you, instead of gripping it tightly in your thoughts, you gradually dismantle the habit of control. Each time you linger a moment longer in my presence, instead of rushing to find an answer, you train your mind to rest in peace rather than in solutions. Slowly, you will notice the things that once sent you spiraling for hours now cause you only to pause for a moment and speak with me. The words that once troubled you for an entire week now simply bring you back to prayer and release. The fears that once paralyzed you now fade like distant noise, for your mind has been rewired to return to truth rather than chase after illusions. Prayer is a defensive weapon, for it builds a protective circle around the mind and keeps intrusive influences from entering without permission. Yet prayer is also an offensive weapon, because it actively breaks curses, dismantles toxic thought patterns, and shatters false conclusions you once believed. Every plea, let me see as you see. Let me love as you love. Let me think in the way you think is a moment in which you allow me to adjust the lens through which you look at life. From that point on, you no longer interpret your story through the filters of failure, comparison, or unworthiness, but through the vision of one who is loved, chosen, and called. My child, the power of prayer lies in this. When you pray long enough, your aim begins to change. Your heart shifts from Lord, do this for me, to Lord, do what you desire within me. And when that shift takes place, prayer ceases to be a duty. It becomes breath. It is no longer the final option you resort to. It becomes the first response that rises within you. It is no longer something you force yourself to do. It becomes the refuge to which you instinctively return. That is the moment this weapon truly rests in your hands. And darkness learns to hesitate each time it sees you. Kneel, not because of the posture of your body, but because it knows that every time you draw near to me, you rise sharper, freer, steadier, and far less susceptible to deception. My beloved child, continue to pray not because I need many words, but because your soul needs to remain near me. My child, one of the hardest trials faced by those I have chosen is not the direct assault of darkness, but the voices of people, the judgments, the shallow conclusions, the misunderstandings that lie outside your control. From the beginning, humanity has always looked at outward appearances, while I look at the heart. Yet that very distance between the outward and the inward creates storms of the soul which, without spiritual preparation, can easily sweep you away, causing you to doubt yourself and to evaluate your worth through the standards of the world instead of through my gaze. This is why I teach you a vital lesson. Do not allow the words of people to define you, not because you are too strong to be influenced, but because your true identity comes from heaven, not from public opinion, not from passers-by, and not from the uninformed whispers of a world that does not know your story. The first truth I want you to hold on to is this: the journey of preserving character in the midst of storms is a path forged through discipline, not a trait granted at birth. When you are misunderstood, when someone attributes to you motives that are not yours, when your intentions are twisted, or when your words are distorted in ways that wound you, your natural instinct will urge you to react immediately, to explain, to defend yourself, to prove that you are not what they say. But, my child, character is not revealed when the world applauds you. It is revealed when you are surrounded by harsh winds. Your integrity is not tested when you are praised, but when admiration turns into suspicion. Your gentleness is not proven when you are treated kindly, but when you are attacked and still choose not to return harshness for harshness. Your spiritual strength is not measured by your ability to win arguments, but by your ability to stand firm amid voices that try to pull you down. Maintaining character in the storm does not mean remaining silent in the face of injustice, nor does it mean submitting to mistreatment. It means choosing responses rooted in truth rather than emotion. There will be moments when I lead you to speak, but you will speak from peace, not from anger. There will also be moments when I ask you to remain silent, not to render you weak, but so that I may be the one who defends you. When you walk in that posture, your character is not eroded by pressure, it is refined to shine brighter. You will learn to move like one whose deepest self cannot be touched by human judgment, because that deepest place belongs to me. To guard such character, you must learn to protect your inner being from the voice of judgment. Your mind is the first gateway where invisible arrows attempt to land. If you do not know how to shield it, the words of others will take root, causing you to doubt yourself and slowly pulling you away from the light. Protecting your inner life does not mean covering your ears or forcing yourself to forget. It means learning to filter, to discern which voices have the right to touch you and which do not. The voice that carries life will always guide you toward what is good, allowing you to look within without feeling condemned. But the voice of judgment, whether from loved ones, acquaintances, colleagues, or society, always bears three marks. It makes you shrink, it makes you feel ashamed, and it steals your peace. My child, no one can fully understand the path I am leading you on. No one has seen the silent battles you have walked through. No one knows the tears you have shed. No one has witnessed the moments you rose again in the secret place when there was no one to cheer for you but me. People only see the surface, and they judge from the surface, but you must not allow the surface of others to shape the core of who you are. Whenever you hear a judgment spoken over you, bring it before me and ask, does this word come from truth? Does it align with your guidance? Does it carry your peace? If it does not, let it fall to the ground before it ever reaches your spirit. You do not need to carry every opinion as though it were truth. You only need to carry the truth I speak. And my child, I want you to remember this: the endurance of righteousness far outlasts the temporariness of attacks. Attacks, no matter how strong, no matter how widespread, no matter who launches them, carry power only for a season. They are like strong winds sweeping across a field, loud for a moment, then fading, leaving emptiness behind. But the righteousness I have placed within you carries a strength so firm that no storm, no matter how fierce, can uproot it. Accusations may trouble some hearts for a short while, but they hold no authority to alter what I have declared about you. They may cause a few to distance themselves from you when they do not yet understand. But in the end, truth will rise. You do not need to prove your righteousness, you only need to live in it. Time will do the rest. Those who attack you today may disappear tomorrow. The distortions spoken today will fade into nothing when I lift you up in the season that is coming. But your character, your steadiness, your faithfulness, the way you wait on me in silence, the way you respond to injustice, this is what I am using to build your future. Righteousness does not need noise to prove itself. It proves itself over time. Accusation is loud but fleeting. Righteousness is quiet but enduring. My child, when you refuse to let the words of others define you, you will discover that the only voice with the right to define you is mine. And my voice has never called you inadequate, has never called you useless, has never called you a failure. My voice calls you chosen, called, loved, kept, and positioned within my greater purpose. Let what I speak over you become the only truth you allow into the depths of your heart. Now pray like this, Lord, the one who sees every movement in the spiritual realm. Today, I come before you with a longing to be guided. Open the eyes of my spirit to discern the intentions hidden beneath words, behind smiles, and within actions that appear ordinary, yet may carry invisible arrows. Cleanse away every mist that causes my heart to waver. Enable me to distinguish what is true from what is false, what is your voice from what is the echo of darkness. I no longer want to live by surface vision, but by the depth that the Holy Spirit Himself shapes within me. Grant me courage to leave places that pollute my spirit and atmospheres that muffle your voice. Strengthen my mind so it stands firm when I am misunderstood, accused, or pressed by layers of pressure beyond human reasoning. Lord, shine your light over me, for only your light can expose every movement in the unseen world surrounding me. Loving Father, I surrender my mind to you. It is so easily attacked, so easily shaken, so easily led astray by voices that do not come from truth. Guard my identity from words that make me doubt who I am. Protect my confidence from subtle destruction. Cover my weaknesses with your power so I will not become easy prey for deception. Help me recognize when my own inner voice whispers things that are not from you, when fear tries to rule me, when shame tries to bind me, when insecurity tries to pull me away from your will. Speak louder, stronger, and deeper than every false whisper. Teach me to stay spiritually awake so I am not swept away by emotion, but clear-minded enough to pause, breathe, and listen to your voice in the midst of the noise within my soul. Lord, the one who refines me through every season, I ask you to give me the resolve of someone truly chosen. Place clarity in my mind so I may endure testing. so I will not be shaken when storms come, and so I may walk wisely in days filled with trials. Forge in me a steadfast spirit so I do not lose heart when I have not yet seen results. So trials do not drive me backward, and weariness does not cause me to abandon the calling you have entrusted to me. Teach me that spiritual maturity does not come through words, but through the moments when I choose to trust, choose to stand, and choose to walk with you even when I have no strength left. May my maturity become a song of praise to you, the one who has kept me through every wave and every storm. Lord, open my eyes so I may discern those whom you send and those who come with motives that are not pure. Help me see through the masks people wear, so I will not be swayed by false praise or counsel born from hidden intentions. Shine your light upon me, that I may distinguish words that carry the breath of life from words that glitter on the surface but conceal distortion within. Grant me wisdom to recognize who is carrying a burden that does not belong to them, who seeks to impose their will, and who attempts to gain spiritual influence over my life. Lord, give me a heart tender enough to love people, yet sharp enough to protect myself. Place upon me the gift of discernment, right timing, right posture, and toward the right people. Father, teach me to wield the heavenly weapons you have given. Grant me a faith that is strong, one that does not depend on emotion but rests securely on the truth you have spoken. Give me obedience, so I will not chase after my own will, so I will not let pride lead me astray. I want to walk with you, even when I do not see the full picture, for I believe obedience opens what logic cannot unlock. Give me a heart humble yet strong as steel, a heart not easily angered, not easily provoked, not easily manipulated, a heart that knows when to stay silent and when to speak. Keep me among those who fight with light, with truth, and with absolute obedience. Lord, teach me to balance intellect, emotion, and spiritual guidance. Let my mind remain clear, my heart remain soft, and my inner being remain quiet so I may hear your voice. When emotions try to pull me in the wrong direction, help me recognize it at once. When fear presses me to act hastily, teach me to slow down. When pressure urges me to respond in the flesh, teach me to pause and breathe in your presence. Keep my heart from hardening because of wounds and keep my mind from drifting due to exhaustion. Let me remain sensitive to your voice, yet humble when you correct me. May my tenderness before you become the deepest strength within me. Lord, teach me to run in your will, not running out of fear, but running into your protection. Show me when I need to leave a spiritually toxic environment and when I need to remain still to complete a lesson. In days when life shakes beneath my feet, hold my soul firmly in your hands, even when the ground shifts. Help me understand that you are adjusting, not destroying, aligning, not closing, leading me into a new season, not casting me into chaos. Refine me in the movement so I may leave behind what no longer belongs, old habits, old fears, and relationships that have reached their end. May I step into every divine transition with peace, knowing your invisible hand never departs from me. Lord, send to my life the true allies, those you choose, you prepare, and you appoint to strengthen me in this season. Let me recognize them by the peace they carry, their encouragement, their humility, and the light within them. Help me open the door to the right people and close the doors that bring danger. Protect me from misguided help, from counsel that pulls me away from your voice, from feelings that lead me to depend on people, and from relationships that dull my spiritual sensitivity. Lord, I ask you to be the one who determines who may stand close to my soul. Let every support I receive be aligned with your will, not the randomness of circumstance. Almighty Father, I step into your secret place longing to be transformed. Teach me to pray without ceasing, not only with words, but with breath, with spiritual reflex, with a rhythm of life attuned to you. Let my prayers be more than spoken phrases. Let them be the honest cry of my heart, where I dare to expose fear, weakness, and disappointment, so you may heal me from the root. Transform my mind through every moment I commune with you. Tear down the strongholds of doubt, self-condemnation, comparison, and insecurity. Place within me a renewed way of thinking, a mindset of trust, freedom, and the identity of one who is unconditionally loved. Lord, I bow before you and ask that you turn my prayers into a weapon that shatters every attack and simultaneously opens the way into your perfect will. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so together we may build a strong and growing community of faith.